we bring to you unheard stories from the boardrooms of good governance, from the promoters, from independent directors, the CEOs, CXOs, CFOs, and all the pillars who act, for the good governance. Mentor My Board today is a brand known to the Finance Minister of India post the Women Directors Conclave that we held last year on the 16th of September. We've launched various programs like the Boardroom Mastery Certification Program for the promoters, WOOM for women directors, that is Women on Management and Boards. We've launched IDEAL, that is Independent Directors Education and Learning. We host various events, sessions, coffee meets, and reading blogs, viewing videos are few of the key aspects on the platform of Mentor My Board. So do join us in this momentum of good governance by logging in on the platform of Mentor My Board. We are striving to create a community of 1 lakh directors on the platform who can learn, interact, and nurture each other through their perspectives. So the platform of Mentor My Board acts as an enabler for the same and helps us to reach audience pan India. So with this sole motive, we've come up with this member spotlight series, which will focus on the recognition, growth, and the credibility of our members on the platform who are under the spotlight. And in this pursuit, today we have Dr. Suman Nair with us, who is an organizational development expert, a leadership coach, a change management facilitator, an Enneagram teacher, director at Atiitya, president of Association of Coaches, and she has around 3 decades of experience. Welcome, Dr. Suman, to this wonderful member spotlight series.
Thank you very much, Neha. It's awesome
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Great. So we've seen that you are engaged in a multiple of things. We would love to know your background and your history, your journey till date, if you would wish to share, few key aspects from it.
Sure. Um, all through my career, it's been quite unplanned. Life kept pushing me, my career kept pushing me into newer avenues. I'm
Okay.
not a trained HR person, but I got into HR. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and once I got into HR, then I became an entrepreneur. And so, also my education, whether it's my PhD or my PCC in coaching, all of that kept happening more progressively and in terms of creating the proficiencies for myself. And along with my own journey, my clients also benefited, people working with me benefited, because I believe strongly in sharing everything that I learn. So karwa badta gaya.
Wow, that's so nice and very important point of sharing that you've mentioned. And we'll take up these, key pointers in detail when we have a brief chat with you, in the next half an hour. So I would like you to describe something. So since when I read your profile, it said that you're a leadership coach. So how do you tailor your coaching approach to meet the unique needs and the goals of different leaders? Because I understand you're closely working with leaders, everyone's, EQ, IQ, everything is different. So what is it that you do to actually, provide, train them or coach them, or how do you go about it to plan the coaching sessions?
um, it's a notion when we say IQ is different, EQ is different, hence people are different. While it
Okay.
is somewhere, our responses are different because of our
Mm-hmm.
conditioning, because of the way we have learned to respond to different situations. But a lot of times, our intent is very similar.
Okay.
So when I work with whether it's individual leaders, teams of leaders within an organization, or systemic leadership issue in an organization, I
Mm-hmm.
sort of invite people to consider that our intent is similar, that we are all wanting to achieve certain objective, wanting to achieve certain outcomes similarly, you know. What that
Okay.
does is there's a better buy-in then, no? So it becomes easier for me to work with them.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. So can you share one example of particularly transformative coaching experience that someone would have felt, or you would have seen that kind of a change in someone by the coaching that you've given?
Sure, and very humbly, there are few of them. I'll talk about one. Of course, no names. One of the organizations approached me and said, "We want our current managing director to be groomed to get onto the board in Switzerland." And this was in
Okay.
India. The gentleman was supposed to be groomed to go on to Switzerland to sit on the board. And they had highlighted a couple of areas where they wanted to see the shift. So,
Okay.
first of all, in my first meeting, the gentleman refused profusely, saying none of these are issues with him, and it's just the board sees that these are lacking, you know.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
it had to start with establishing, first of all, certain kind of credibility, not only for myself as a person or a professional, but also the work that I have done, you know.
Correct.
And this gentleman had enormous experience, and he came from the best of the institutes, whether engineering or management. He was from IM and all of that stuff, right? So we
Hmm.
started off on the note where he said he didn't need any help or support.
Okay.
So it was almost like a mandate that, and one of the things we learn as coaches is, if there's no buy-in from that particular person or the coachee, then don't get into it, because then
Correct.
shifts can't be seen, etc. But here it was coming from the board, so somewhere I think he also was able to see that he had to go through it. So, but the first meeting was quite a challenge for me as well as for him. And we were to sign up for 6 months, but it went on to
Oh,
almost 10 months of
okay.
conversations. And after 2 or 3 sessions, it was not because the board wanted. He started to see those small shifts that he made helped him in the board, of course, but it also helped him with his team and across the organization. And then he called me after like 12 or 14 months, and he said, "We have won the Best Employer Award." And he said, "Suman, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I cannot go and tell the world that you coached me." That's one of the
Oh,
things, right, about our work. Um,
true.
so I've had some cases like that, Neha, and in the process, I also learn so much in these
I
conversations.
I would totally agree. Like, life is a learning each day, and not only from learn from our juniors, from our seniors, from the colleagues. So it is like a 360-degree learning facet for us every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Agreed, agreed. So, what are the kind of typical key challenges that you come across when you have to address, such kind of leaders? So, are there any common challenges that are there apart from this one person that you mentioned that you can highlight?
um there are a couple of them. One is the more they come from a background where their education has been, in their perception, in the best of the institutions, or they have worked with the best of the organizations, etc.,
Hmm.
then
True.
it becomes a little bit of a challenge for them to accept that there could be something that may be missing or that they need to improve, so that always, I mean, that happens to me also sometimes. I mean, 30 years, I know what I'm doing. So it takes a little bit of work to be open to learn, you know so that's one challenge. And Neha, honestly, the second challenge, and I would like to talk about it here, is the acceptance of a lady coach in many
Okay.
organizations. Okay. So doesn't matter you have a PhD, doesn't matter you have done so much of work and everything else. You still need to start from the base, establishing your credibility. Um,
Oh,
I, it doesn't hurt me anymore, but now I have made it a motto to ensure I talk about it.
okay. That's
Okay.
interesting. And I'm surprised that, you are mentioning it, because I was under a notion that, the more you are learned, the more you have studied from renowned institutes, you have an open mindset towards learning, towards, the gender equality kind of thing that you say. But then I'm surprised that you've highlighted this point.
Yeah, it may not happen in all organizations. There are certain
Of course.
organizations which are, completely embedded into learning.
Mhm.
There, they really don't, it doesn't matter. But it will
True.
take some time for all organizations to be open about it, which is okay, which is why we are here to keep making a point, isn't it?
True, very true. I agree to it. All right. So, as a director of Atiitya that I mentioned in the introduction, so what are the strategic initiatives that you have led to enhance the organization development and fostering a culture of continuous, improvement within the company?
You're talking about Atiitya itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are really a very small organization with very wide presence. So what I mean by
Okay.
that is our model is where we network with a lot of other consultants, coaches, facilitators, assessors, etc. for our work, and strategically, I think. One thing that's helped is relationship building,
Hmm.
sustaining, holding on to those relationships, because there are some facilitators and coaches who have worked with them for the past 13, 14, 15 years.
True.
So also ensuring that they are learning, and they are up the curve when it comes to the best practices in the market. Fortunately, I've also had a lot of opportunity to work in the international market, in various other countries. And when I
Hmm.
work with other facilitators from other countries, you also get to know how they work with the boards, how they work with the senior leadership. So bringing that back into our own pool. So I think that has really helped us to hold on to those relationships, and they are also willing to stretch and give their best, because
Okay.
they look up to this learning process, and all of that. And second, I want to mention this is, when we started about 20 years ago, there were not
Hmm.
too many players in the market. Okay. Today there are.
Okay.
So the differentiation I have seen is not so much about only about your social media presence, etc. It is
Hmm.
also about the insights and the wisdom that you're able to present to the leaders that you work with, right?
True.
So I think strategically, continuous learning is, has helped us to sort of still remain up there.
Hmm, that's very important, because the more you learn, the more you understand about the best practices that are going on in the industry, and you bring in the outside in perspective. It helps you, channelize your energies better and reach out to wider people,
Yeah.
connect with them as well. Yes,
Yeah, I
very true,
agree.
very.
Yeah.
So, as a president of Association of Coaches, in your resume that, or in the biodata that you've mentioned, so what is your vision for the organization, and what are the steps that you've taken to, work towards this vision?
Association of Coaches is now about 11 years in its presence as a body.
Wow. Hmm.
And this is my second term as the president.
Oh,
Um,
that's amazing.
yeah, there was like someone else was there in between. So, I was
Okay.
there earlier, etc. But this is my second term.
Right.
So we have always been focused on Mumbai for getting all the coaches together and learning and sharing, etc. This time, the entire team, me and my committee, we have ventured beyond Mumbai because we believe um, any of these professional support groups should not be limited to a small city or even a bigger city, but a city or a state or whatever. So we started off by changing the name from Association of Mumbai Coaches to Association of Coaches. So now
Okay.
have we have members. We have a member from London, and we have members from various other cities, and we want to expand because that's when the learning and sharing happens
Of
that much
course.
more. You know, so our motto is learning and sharing, and we do whatever it takes to ensure our members and others get a chance. We have some senior coaches who work with boards actually, so they're also able to contribute to helping all the coaches understand what is that little nuance that you need to develop when you're working with the board and when you're working
Okay.
with leadership, etc. It's not the same, you know.
True.
So yeah. So strategy is reach worldwide.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So when you were just mentioning about, working with the boards and working with the team below the boards, or the, actual team who is working on the ground, or the operational team. So did you find challenges in, actually bringing them on one platform, or do you see any such kind of challenges in the new age companies or in the startups currently? So have you been working with the startup phase as well, or it is only
Yes,
the...
yes, startup as well. And
Okay.
see, the like I mentioned earlier, the intent is usually not communicated. What is just communicated is expectation a lot of times, right? So,
Agree.
which does not make a conversation wholesome. It's just
True.
one part, okay? um that is where this has been my observation, by the way, and I could be wrong, but I have always noticed that so long as people don't sit together and talk about the mission and the vision, why do we exist, what do we want to
True.
do, and who do we want to be, if they
Correct.
don't, wherever these three questions are not answered, there is huge misalignment. And people like me and my fraternity come in to synergize, to get all of this on one page of
Correct.
alignment. Yes.
Right, right, right. So when you were just mentioning about, aligning with the vision and mission of the, the operating team or the team below the board. So are these nuances only in the new age companies, or it is similar in the, in the grown up companies?
Actually, it is true in any organization. It is true in any
Okay.
organization. In fact, in my experience, Neha, in the new age, the gap is lesser.
Oh, that's an
The gap
amazing
is
observation.
lesser.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because there is a
So I
certain
think
kind of.
effective communication is the key, and you mean to say that the new age businesses are effectively being able to communicate with the employees?
I think so, because in the new age, even if you look at the average age in the organization is much lesser, and a lot of senior leadership, including some of the board members, are able to think new age. It's not about age at all. It's not about the number,
Of
right?
course,
It's not about
of
the age.
course. Age
It's
is
about
just a
the,
number, but the
yeah,
new age
it's about
is,
the
yes,
thinking.
a concept. True. That's amazing.
Yeah, because
So,
if you do not
so
have the new age thinking, it's very difficult to support a startup.
true. Totally agree. So I've seen that, you being a coach yourself, you've always emphasized on learning, right? Learning more, learning deeper, learning various facets. So if you could describe that, you were recently a part of program by the name of Ideal with us at Mentor My Board. So I would just wish to, hear about your experience. How has been the program, and why such programs would be important for people to come and join in.
Um, I've been running the private limited company of mine for the last 20 years. Okay.
Okay.
After joining this program, I realized that there are certain facets of the business which I never bothered to understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
It was all almost outsourced, right, to other companies or agencies who were helping me to run it in whatever way. I can't say smoothly, but in whatever way it was running, right? But
Correct.
now, honestly, because of this program, I've gone and bought a couple of books on understanding the finances. you know you use the language, like I use the language. I know what a top line is, well, I know what a bottom line is,
Correct.
revenue is, etc. But there is a certain understanding one needs to have on the financial model. For example, when I say strategy, I mean strategy from the perspective of running the management, running people, managing people capital.
Correct.
To understand strategy from the market perspective, from the competition perspective. Okay, so all of that sort of started to emerge for me,
Hmm.
you know and some
Okay.
of the facilitators that you have on board, I think, also sort of instigate you to think a little more on some of these matters. It's nice.
True. Great. And how do you feel like, so what according to you are the important board skills that a director should possess, since you've worked so closely with the boardrooms and with, the senior management team as well. So what are those skills which you suggest that, being a board leader, these are the skills that must be, there in some directors?
I would put it as two sets of skills. Okay. One set of
Okay.
skills are obvious skills, like you need to know how to read a balance sheet. I mean, those are all obvious, you need to know. I'm going to
Correct.
talk about the second set of skills, which are like nuances.
Hmm.
And I've seen sometimes these not being present in the boards. Okay.
Okay.
And these nuances, for example, are presence. You know, when I say presence, I usually talk about leadership presence. I think every director is also a leader sitting there in those board meetings. So presence in terms of willing to listen, willing to allow the other person to share their thoughts, and being open to others' point of view as a perspective. And
Correct.
know, your maturity and your wisdom as a board of director is seen by how much you're willing to allow things to emerge. How much are you willing to truly uh, contribute, not only from your own functional space, which is where learning comes into fore, right? That you're willing
Correct.
to go back, learn, and come back and share.
True.
Okay. So these are all nuances. When you say accountability, I may, if as a board of director, I am driving a point on financial management, and I'm not sort of managing my invoices better or whatever with the organize. I just mean that congruence,
Correct.
and being thoroughly um, a partner in the visioning and in the mission of the organization. You can't sit
Amazing.
there and keep blaming or keep um, you know of course you have to bring up those points that are not aligning to running of the organization, but you have a role to play to also support some of the intents.
Correct. So being, playing a role of, beyond only the criticism to actually contribute in an effective way, the way in which, it benefits the company to align to their growth goals is what, you would
Yeah.
define as an ideal individual in the boardroom.
Yeah, Neha, when you listen to this, no, it seems like, huh, I mean, we all know this, right? But when you
Right.
see it in action, you will realize how so many of us don't do it.
Very true. Very true. So, your quick key mantras for success. What is it that you follow to be successful in life?
Do the right thing, do
Mhm.
whatever it takes. Okay, and keep learning and never get tired of serving.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear.
Serve, yeah.
Yes. Keep learning and never, get
Keep
tired of
serving,
serving.
keep learning, and keep serving.
Very nice. Very nice. So, if I have to say serving, you mean it? Do you mean some social serving, or what is
No,
it that
be
you
of
mean?
service. Wherever you are, be of service. That's what will
Okay.
give you the ability to listen well, the ability to allow, the ability to support because you're in service. Service to a
Hmm.
larger objective, service to the vision, service to the leadership, yeah.
Great, great. So it was wonderful, Dr. Suman, chatting with you, having this wonderful discussion, and I'm sure there are so many comments in the chat box. People are enjoying hearing your journey and your perspectives on leadership, your perspectives, your thoughts on board directorship, etc. So one last quick question: what is it that you bring to the table? What is it that specially Dr. Suman Nair would appointed as a board of director?
I will uphold the leadership practices even in the board at all times,
Okay,
and I will serve. Yeah.
correct. Wonderful. So it's been a wonderful chat with you. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.